science-based psychology in my YouTube channel, and today we will be discussing about ability to concentrate, to be productive, and to work with a deep focus. And probably you have a lot of responsibilities, as everybody has. However, high achievers and people who are successful also have the same 24 hours, but they are using certain strategies that help them to focus deeply and to be more productive. And today we will be discussing about certain different approaches that maybe you can use for yourself to help yourself if you want to be more productive, more focused, or to work more deeply. And I want to introduce a distinction that once was internalized and would fundamentally change the way you evaluate your working days and your professional choices. Most people measure productivity by hours they have worked, and they think that if they will work for very long hours, they will be able to do more work. However, research suggests the contrary. Hours of genuine deep cognitive engagement are more valuable rather than shallow work. And so, deriving from this, we can more focus on how we can find the ways of working in a more focused or deeply manner that would replace hours of shallow work. And according to Carl Newport, computer science professor of Georgetown University, according to his research, work performance in his 2016 book Deep Work, he found the core differences of deep work, that is cognitively demanding, professional activity performed in a state of distraction-free concentration that elevates cognitive capability to its limits, creating new value, improving skill, and producing work that's difficult to repeat. And some people are defining it as a state of flow or deep work. And there is another part of shallow work that is non-cognitively demanding. Logistical, often procedural tasks are performed, and oftentimes while distracted, that can be replicated and do not push cognitive limits. And according to Newport's performance equation, high-quality work produced time spent multiplied by intensity of focus. And this explains why 2 hours of genuine distraction-free focus generally produce more high-quality work than 6 hours of shallow, fragmented, distracted work. And today we are going to discuss what can help you to concentrate and focus better and to have better performance. Newport makes an economic argument that is well supported by organizational economics research, and as deep work becomes rarer through the proliferation of open plan offices, always-on communication tools, meeting-heavy cultures, and digital distractions, it simultaneously becomes more economically valuable. So if you are able to focus better, to have a deep work, it's valuable nowadays because most of people are doing shallow work and constantly being distracted by emails or social media or messages that makes them more challenging to concentrate deeply and to have a deep work. And knowledge worker who can consistently produce high quality deep work outputs in distracted world holds a genuine competitive advantage that compounds over a career. And research that was conducted by Bain and Company found that a highly skilled, deeply focused knowledge worker can produce output work equivalent to 3 or 5 average workers. That's why it's so important nowadays to be able to focus better, especially in an environment where we are constantly being distracted. And there are a lot of responsibilities that we have, and we are living in an age of technology, constantly being distracted by social media, by phones, by messages. And according to Sophie Leroy's attention residue research, There are mechanisms through which modern work environments destroy deep cognitive engagement. When, for instance, we are trying to switch from task A to task B, part of our attention still remains allocated to task A. That creates a decreasing ability to concentrate or to stay focused on the second task. And this also has practical implication. In an environment where knowledge worker switches between tasks over and over again, this prevents meaningful engagement. And once you were distracted, it takes around more than 2 minutes for you to be able to focus on a new task again. Therefore, you can ask yourself what are some times when you can focus better, how you can arrange your environment in a manner that would have less distractions, and which environments, which people, what exactly helps you to have a deep work, to be able to focus better. And you can use those strategies and resources to help you to have a more quality value work during the day. And what are some moments, for instance, when you are already responding in ways that feel both clear and meaningful for you, even when there is stress or there are distractions? And moments when you don't feel split inside, and when different parts of you are not arguing with each other, where your thinking is not fighting your feelings, or your feelings are not overwhelming your thinking. Just take a second. What are, for instance, sometimes when you can switch off your notifications or messages, and if you are able to stay focused and work productively, what helped you to achieve that outcome? Which strategies did you use? Did you inform people that you will not be available during those times? Or did you arrange your timetable in a manner that helped you to work better? Or maybe you woke up earlier, and during the time when everyone was sleeping, you had no distractions and you were able to work better. Or maybe you woke up at night or go to bed at night. Like, everyone's rhythms and cycles are different, and ways of working, like whatever works for one person might not work for the other person. So finding out your qualities, your resources, and your features that would fit for you is important to find, to catch this balance and to be able to work effectively. And what did you notice about how you were thinking at times when you were able to focus? And at the same time, what did you notice about what mattered to you in that moment? Like, where was your attention focused on? Maybe during times when you are having shallow work, or you are not able to focus or to concentrate your attention, maybe you are filled with worries, with anxiety, thinking about the future. So what's being different during times when you are actually able to focus? Maybe you shift your attention what you can control, or maybe you are thinking about your motivation, about your why, and you think that you are thinking about which steps I can take right now despite anxiety, uncertainty, chaos, or other environmental factors that I cannot control right now. So what's exactly happening during those exceptional moments when you can focus better? And what difference would it make if this version of you, focused, energized, or concentrated version of you, showed up more often during the day? How it might look like, what would other people notice about you, and what difference would it make for them if you were able to focus and concentrate better? And when in your life do this already come together in a way that works for you, like when you can keep a balanced way of approaching your feelings and your logics? What are you doing differently in those moments? How do you know that you can trust yourself there? What helps you to feel confident that you can manage your time or you can cope with challenges? And what would be the smallest sign later today, for instance, that you are accessing more of that version of yourself? If this webinar was helpful for you, and if somehow you found certain strategies or resources that you can apply for yourself, how it might look like if you already started to show up in that version of you, if you started to be more focused, more concentrated, more productive. How would you know that that version of you is already showing up? And where would you like to try to be that version, for instance, today? Maybe in the evening, maybe in the afternoon, maybe after listening to me, maybe in your interactions with people, you started to be more attentive and started to listen more and to understand the other person's perspective. Maybe it would show up in your work while you are working, or while you are uh, trying to rest, while you are trying to pursue your goals or hobbies, or doing different activities. And what would be different while you will be focused and concentrated on your work? So, what would the version of you who already knows how to do this do next? And then follow that just one step. That's where change begins. And because most high-performing professionals don't struggle with knowing what matters, they already know what they value, what they need to do, what's important for them. They struggle the moment when something feels urgent, for instance, when there is chaos, when there is uncertainty, when there are deadlines or a lot of responsibilities. Maybe you are receiving a lot of emails, messages, requests, and a problem escalates and people are arguing. And at that moment, it becomes more difficult to focus on what matters and to focus and to stay concentrated, because your attention is being pulled, and not necessarily to what is most important, but towards what feels the most immediate, or maybe at that time your feelings are being triggered, and it's difficult to focus on rationality or logical part of version of you. And getting curious about times when you have already navigated this kind of challenges, moments where you choose your work in a way that felt both effectively and meaningful, even during times of chaos, stress, or challenges. And so just try to pause and think about, can you remember recent day where by the end you felt that this was a good use of your time and you used your time efficiently? What did you do differently on that day? And what guided your attention? And how did you decide what to start with? What did you do exactly before starting, or when you felt overwhelmed or confused, how you approached the problem or the challenge? Because we often find that in those moments you weren't just reacting to what felt urgent, you also weren't just following a rigid list, but you constructed certain strategies that have worked for you. And for instance, you were selecting your work in a way that created both impact and a sense of alignment with who you are professionally. And there are times when you already choose work that both moves your things forward, and that helps you to make progress and feels like a genuine expression of your standards, your identity. And once you are able to notice that, the question starts to shift. It's no longer what should I do. It becomes, when do I already have uh, qualities, and I'm using those qualities and resources well under uncertainty or challenges or stress, and what tells me that this task is worth best my energy, and how do I recognize work that is not urgent but actually meaningful to complete. So if today were to feel like a successful day by the end of it, what would I have done more of? You can also text your answers uh, to the messages and share what's one thing you would like to do that would make your day productive or efficient, or would let you say that this day was good, it was efficient. And because prioritization, for instance, what are some most important things that would make the most difference in your life? What's the smallest thing I can do today that would make me closer towards my dreams or my goals? And it's about increasing frequency of moments where you choose your work in a way that reflects both effectiveness and who you are at your best at that moment. So so as you move into your next task or next work, instead of asking what's the most urgent, you can try just pause and briefly notice, what would a slightly more effective version of me choose to focus on right now? And then take one step in that direction. So what difference would it make for you? Which action would bring you closer towards the preferred version of you that you want to be? And how prioritization becomes something you live, not something you constantly try to manage. And mm, Probably most of challenging parts about your work is constant messages, notifications, and collapse of cognitive depth due to it. Gloria Mark's research on UC Irvine in 2012 found that office workers spend an average of around 30% of their workday on emails, approximately 2.5 hours daily. And after periods without email access, workers have noticed significant reduce in heart rate, longer task engagement, feeling better, higher self-reported focus. An email environment didn't merely consume time, it fundamentally altered the cognitive mode of work, shifting workers from sustained depth to constant vigilance. So this means that when we are checking emails or constantly being on our emails or text messages, our uh, our concentration is being distracted, and this causes negative impact on our mental well-being and overall well-being and on our ability to focus deeply. Therefore, neurological mechanism, email and notification checking creates a perpetual anticipation state, a low-grade dopaminergic seeking loop that maintains the brain in a state of arousal vigilance, incompatible with the sustained prefrontal engagement required for deep cognitive work. So this means since your brain reacts to all these notifications as if this is urgent, this is something important, your brain stays in an arousal state, and this makes it more challenging for you to be able to focus deeply. And it's not a motivation or discipline problem, it's just how your brain is designed, and it's a neurological architectural problem, one that requires environmental design rather than willpower as a solution. So what can we do about it is that we can adjust our environments. For instance, we can use certain times to check the emails, and we can switch off if uh, if this is not urgent. Like we can choose certain times to check emails, messages, and the rest time will be left for us. And this would increase your ability to focus and to stay concentrated on your work. And schedule and philosophy of deep work. Newport found 4 philosophical approaches to schedule deep work, like simply what are some ways that we can increase deep work and deep focus. The first of them is monastic, radical decrease of all shallow obligations, like finding out some areas that are causing shallow work. For instance, in my sessions, clients find out those who have difficulties with managing their time, they find that there are a lot of activities that are not needed, or there are a lot of fields where they are losing their time, and instead of doing those tasks or work, they can do something that would matter for them, or that would be efficient for them, or carrying them closer towards their goals. So decreasing those shallow work or unneeded, unnecessary work time, and starting to use it more wisely, more efficiently. This is the gold standard and one strategy. The second one is bimodal, alternating between periods entirely dedicated to deep work and periods handling shallow work at the scale of days, weeks, or seasons. So in a sense, balancing the shallow work with the deep work, this would also help you to rest and to make more use of your time, and like there will be balance between deep work where you will get tired and rest. The third one is rhythmic, daily habit of deep work at a consistent time, the most sustainable for most knowledge workers. So deliberately assigning or setting certain times of day where you will maintain deep work, generally for 1.5 hours, and repeating it after result. And the last one is journalistic, fitting deep work wherever possible in an unpredictable schedule requires the most practical ability to shift into depth rapidly. This one seems more challenging for me. Like it can be rarely productive, but if you will leave to a chance when you will have a deep work, then it will be, I don't know, for me it doesn't seem very realistic. However, research says the opposite. And rhythmic philosophy: fix daily deep work block, preferably in the morning before reactive demands begin. So many successful people are deciding to set their rhythmic philosophy in the very early morning when everyone is sleeping and you have more environmental adjustments and you can easily focus. And generally it's set as 90 minutes of morning block, and after that resorting like relaxing and repeating those rhythmic times again. And if we consider how acceptance commitment therapy approaches to ability to stay focused and concentrated and to have a deep work, it's measured by ability to respond flexibly into internal experiences. So noticing which thoughts, feelings, and internal experiences we have at that moment, and being able to be open to those feelings and thoughts, and to stay curious about not pushing them away or not trying to suppress them, and at the same time intentionally redirecting your attention towards what matters for you at that time. And obstacles are real social pressure to be constantly available, anxiety about missing communications, guilt about responding immediately, and immediate relief of reactive behavior versus delayed gratification of deep work output. So here what it means that when you at your initial stages, when you will try and start to focus and have a deep work, probably your mind will be somewhere else and you will be worried about not answered messages or emails. So this means being able to stay with this discomfort and to be able to focus on your work. And committed action is here, the deep work, despite these uncomfortable feelings or maybe hesitation or maybe worries about who wrote what they have texted. And scheduling protected focus block is not a preference of honor when convenient. A Newport's shutdown ritual. Newport's shutdown ritual, consistent end of day sequence where we are closing our computers, programs, and writing down plans for the next day, and so that it doesn't stay in our conscious at the background, functioning in the background. And Zeigarnik effect, for instance, predicts that without deliberate closure, unfinished work items will occupy cognitive resources throughout the evening, preventing genuine recovery and rest. And this ritual is not arbitrary. It serves the specific function of creating psychological completion that enables genuine off work and ability to focus and concentrate. And Dave found it. Tracking your next working day with granular openness. For each hour, classifying activity as deep work, single task, full concentration, pushing cognitive limits, no interruption, or shallow work, a reactive procedural interruption, doesn't require for cognitive capacity, and calculate what percentage of your working hours are genuinely deep and which ones are shallow. And this reality check will help you to realize what are some fields that you need to change or you need to add some deep work. And also, as we have already discussed, email batching protocol is one of the most well-known and efficient strategies of using your time more efficiently and being able to focus deeply. For instance, setting certain times during the day where you will be checking your emails or text messages, and this would help you to decrease the cognitive load and also worries and constant distraction, and this would help you to focus better on your work. I tried to share the most important strategies that are used today, researching about different articles or strategies that are used in different approaches to help you to focus better, to make it more likely for you to be able to concentrate, to have deep work times. And I hope that this was useful for you. If you have any questions, you're welcome to leave your questions in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe and turn on your notifications if you want to learn more about these strategies in the future and don't want to miss the next webinars. Take good care of yourself and see you in the next webinars again.